Hey everyone, welcome back. And in this section, we are going to discuss about Terraform variables. Terraform variables basically allow you to parameterize your Terraform configuration so that you can reuse the same configuration in different environments with different values. Variables in Terraform can be defined in separate files with .tfvar extension, or they can be defined directly in the Terraform configuration file using the variable blocks. Let's get started and see all those demos live. This is the Visual Studio Code, and you can see there are only two files exist. One is going to be the main.tf. Under the main.tf, that is going to be the root directory or root module, you can say. Every resource provisioning script, whatever you write, it is going to be inside this file. And then I have version.tf, that is something attached to Terraform Cloud. That is how the script execution happens on Terraform Cloud. So let's try to build a lab, and we will keep adding those components slowly. So we'll start adding a resource group. So if I need to add a resource group, this is going to be the script, and I'm giving a name which is going to be the resource group win, means RG1, and the location is going to be the West Europe. You can change it if you want to change it, but I will keep it these as of now. And now let's try to execute these scripts. And it completed, and now I can apply it. And once this apply is finished, we are going to do a validation. I have not saved this file. Let me save it first. And then we are going to, or maybe before applying, let's take a look on the plan. And now it is telling you if you are going to execute this script, or maybe you're going to apply it, it is going to add a resource group with the name RG1, and the location is going to be the West Europe. So let's try to understand the variable concept here. I can have two more files, and those will be executed along with that. And the reason behind these values, the names, and the locations, these can be passed as a variable, and then it becomes your main script, which is going to be the reusable. So let's try to do that. And how we are going to do that? First, we need to declare the variables, and then we need to define the variables. Where do we declare the variables? That is going to be a file which is going to be variable.tf. So let's create one more file here. First file, and then there's one more file, terraform.tf was, and make sure the name matches terraform.tf, or otherwise you will have to pass it manually. So in variable, we are going to declare the variable. What are going to be the variables? It is going to be the name. So how do we define the variable first? So inside the variable, I'm going to tell, or I'm going to add a variable. block, and this variable is going to be name. Now, since it is name, you can add type, and type can be a string, type can be object, and type can be a number value. There are multiple methods. This is going to be the string. Another variable is going to be the location. So let's add that second variable, which is going to be the location. And this is again a string. Now you can also define a default value. A default value means if you want to give a default value. So for example, the name. This can be RG1. That means if you're not defining your variables under TF vars, it is going to take a default value. So let me delete this as of now. We don't need it. So we have defined two variables. The first variable is name, the second variable is location. What do I need to do in the main TF? I need to give name var.name, and the location is going to be var.location. Now we have defined a type of variables, but we need to pass those variables as well. So we will go to the variable.tf, tf was, and here I can define my location is West Europe, and name is going to be RG1. Now when we are going to apply Terraform, all these files will be executed or auto loaded in one go. So you don't need to define anything extra. So what will happen here under the main TF will refer to the variable, and the variable will refer to TF vars. What are those variables actually mean? So let's try to execute again, and before executing, I'm going to save it, and let's see what happens. Terraform init, and now Terraform plan. And now we can see it is successfully executed. West Europe and RG1, these are the variables we have passed. Now let's talk about a default. So if I go back to variable, and here I mention my default location, and if I say default is going to be East US, and then from variable I remove it. So for removing I can use hash, Let's save it. And again, let's run Terraform plan. Now we can see that value was hashed, so it falls back to the default value, which is East US, which is defined under the variable. I will go back and remove it. So let's remove the hash first. And default values is still there. So now I'm going to save it and let's see what happens. We should go to the hard-coded one, and that's exactly what we see. So if nothing is defined under the variable, it means it is going to fall back to its default value. So let's apply the changes now. And before I apply, let me show you something. The value of, or maybe the significance of these names. So if I change it to something like Ajay, and then let's plan it, what will happen? Now we can see there is one error, no value for required variable. The root module input variable name is not set and has no default value. If I need to give this file passed as a tf as a variable, then I need to use these arguments. So what I can do while planning, I can do -var one file. Now I can mention my new file, which is tfvars. And this time we should not see any error. And that works. So make sure whenever you are giving a name or creating a file which is going to be the tfvar, its name is reflecting as terraform.tfvars. That's how it get auto-loaded. Let's apply these configuration now. And then we are going to verify on the Azure portal whether these changes were made or not. I'm going to pause my video and come back once it's completed. Changes are successfully executed, and we can see there was one resource group which was added, and the name is RG1, the location is West Europe, and ID will be known after apply. So let's verify on Azure portal how these changes looks like. And let's take a look on the resource group. And the resource group what we added is RG1. And this RG1 belongs to West Europe. And I do not have any resource inside that. And that was expected out of this lab. So let's go back to the script and make more modifications. I already destroyed the resource what we created. So you can see there was a one resource which was destroyed. And this is time we are going to make more changes to our script. If you remember under the variable, we were passing those variable as a string because these are the name and location. Those can be only a string. This time, if my requirement is to create multiple resource group, then how and what changes we need to make. So we can pass this type as a list. And inside the list, you are going to have those variables as a string. Same thing you need to do here as well. Now you can define your default values here itself. So I'm going to define default, and this time since it is a list, it is coming into the bracket, and in the bracket you need to pass those string. So first West Europe, then you can pass comma, write your second variable that is going to be North Europe, and last is going to be East US. So technically I wanted to create three resource group, and those are going to be three different locations. So this is the one value. We need to pass a very similar. I actually made a mistake here. I need to pass this value in location because those are actually the locations. And these are the resource group name. So this can be like RG1, resource group 2, and the third one is going to be resource group 3. So these are the variables passed here. And then what we are going to do, we will go to our main.tf, and in the main.tf, I'm going to tell the count. We are creating 3 resource group, and this time we need to pass a index. So how do we pass it? It's going to be the var.name, and then you need to type count.index. Same you need to give here, count.index. And now let's try to save our file and run it again. I'm going to pause it and come back once this is completed. And there is an error. The given value is not suitable for var location declared at the variable. So if you recall it, under the variable in tfvar, we were hard coding it. So this is a string, and what we have defined is supposed to be a list. So we'll come back on that. Meanwhile, let me just hash these values, save it, and let's try to run it again. And now what do we see here? It is going to create 3 resource group. My first resource group with the location West Europe, and the name is RG1. Second resource group RG2 with the location North Europe, and the third RG3, it is going to be East US. If I type yes, then it is going to apply as well. So what you can do here, we were passing a string. If in TF those are the default values what you see in variables. If you copy and paste these values here under the TF it is going to be the same impact or same effect, I would say. And that is it for this lab, and I will see you in the next section. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next section.